Coach, I know the ultimate goal to get through the spring game is to get through their healthy, and it appears you did. How would you kind of assess the spring game, kind of with that in mind as well?
Yeah, that was the biggest goal. Again, we've had 14 really good practices up until today. We had a really physical spring, and today it was a scenario where we wanted to get on the field, we wanted to go compete, we wanted to mix the groups and have these guys go play with different guys that they've been playing with all spring. But man, we wanted to stay healthy, and so we are healthy, and extremely excited and happy about that. And our guys' energy was good. I thought, you know, at times defensively really flew around. I thought there was physicality. I thought both lines of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball and did a good job. And then offensively, you got to be able to make field goals when you get down there, obviously, but got to be able to score touchdowns. And so we'll go back, we'll look at it. You know, again, the sustaining part of it and being able to dominate up front for us offensively is not there right now. So finding ways to get better between now and the time we get into Hattiesburg will be important.
With that,
Coach, you know, 15 practices in now. What have you seen from Luke and the whole Blake and the whole quarterback room just throughout the spring? Obviously, a lot of turnover from last season.
Yeah, you know, starting with Blake, obviously a guy that's lived it, done it. I've continued to talk about how proud I am of him for the way he's led and how he's continued to get better. He's chasing being great every single day. Luke has gotten better from every single practice. There's been great growth for him inside the scheme and inside the system. You know, coming from Florida State, a guy that had to play as a true freshman, not in ideal situations for him, and he's just continued to get better. And so then you look at Camario coming over, being a mid-year, just turned 18 a month ago, and he's taken to it in a great way, and he's gotten better with every single practice. So the depth that we have in that room is exciting. You have to have that in this league to be able to go do what we want to do. We have upgraded that room in just an incredible way, and that's exciting for me.
right?
One of the things you wonder when you see the kind of the inter squad matchups is it the offense not being very good or the defense really good or vice versa? You spoke briefly on the offensive line, defensive line. Did you feel like just at the spring as a whole, was it the defensive line just gotten so much better, or is it the offensive line issues, or what's kind of your thoughts on the takeaway on the line of scrimmage?
Well, to start, the defensive line, and again, from a roster standpoint, we're in a completely different spot than we were a year ago today. We've got to continue to get better up front on the defensive side of the ball. But where we're at today compared to a year ago today are two completely different places. So that was a must. We knew we had to get that done. We've got a lot of work to do on that side of the ball up front, just like every single position group inside the program. I've talked all spring about, you know, what we're going to attack in the portal. We need to add some pieces up front on the offensive side of the ball. That's going to be critical for us. We need to add some pieces of guys that have played at a really high level for us to go do what we want to do. I think we've got some really talented young players that got here mid-year that maybe aren't quite ready, and that's the reality of it. I think they got a chance to be special players for us, but that's where they're at today, and it's a process.
Paul?
Along those lines, Coach, what have you seen from Jimothy Lewis, and how much was he able to capitalize on getting to play late last year and carry that over?
Yeah, Jimothy's had a really good spring, you know, and he's done really well. You look at Jimbo and you look at Luke, those are two guys that have had good springs. We have to have depth at that position, and those guys will continue to grow and have chances to be great players for us here. Their mindset, their toughness, how they've worked to put themselves in positions of success has been really good. And the biggest thing is we've got to find ways to add pieces to that and have real competition, you know, at those positions to be able to go do what we want to do.
Sam?
Our unofficial stats has Jalen Smith as the leading tackler with 5.5 today. Just what have you seen from him and throughout the whole spring, and do you see him kind of as a contributor right away for this defense?
Yeah, I mean the linebacker group, again, I've talked about this spring. Like you talk about Nick and you talk about Jalen, Kari, and DG. Those four guys playing inside right now have done a really good job with Fat continuing to push, Tyler continuing to push. Obviously, both those guys, young guys, but those guys inside at the second level, again, we're in a much different place than we were a year ago. We need to be able to go play 4 guys to again, get done what we want to get done. We can't leave somebody on the field for 65, 70 snaps, as we were made to at times last year, and that's going to be huge for us. But Jalen absolutely going to be a big part of it. You know, Nick, and without a doubt. You know, and then obviously you look at the dime spot, and again, Kari, DG, and then you know the young guys in that room continuing to grow and help and push.
Go to Ben, then Danny, and Steve.
You took a lot of shots down the field with all 3 quarterbacks. So what did you see in terms of some of those matchups between the wide receivers room and the corners and safeties? A lot of new faces all over the field there on both sides.
Yeah, you know, with Blake and Brennan, we had Brennan obviously a couple of times down the field behind the defense, which was really good to see for the offensive side of the ball, but not being able to connect, threw it aggressive a couple of times. I thought the wind really hurt 2 of those balls from Blake early in the scrimmage when we had opportunities to be behind him. But I thought defensively we had the chance to make some good plays on the ball. You know, Glover was down the field a couple of times. I thought Diego, I believe that was 4 that made a couple of good plays on the ball and kept it from happening. So we're going to be aggressive. I'm going to call it aggressive. We've got to be able to go make the plays down the field to create explosive plays.
You gave Ethan Pulliam about 4 chances to punt the ball today. Just what have you seen from him since he's focused all the way on football against baseball? And can you just talk about maybe what he can do to maybe make a difference on the field this year?
Yeah, you know, hopefully he's not out there a whole lot to start, but when he is out there, we want to be really dominant on that unit. And he's got a chance to flip the field for us because he does. He's got a big leg and a guy that's got to just create consistency. You know, now that he is solely dialed in on ball, I think this summer for his growth will be huge. You know, obviously instead of chasing the baseball piece of it, this guy's going to be punting all summer long. He's got some great things set up that I think can really help him in his development to be able to get him where we need to get him.
Coach, I know you're looking for players everywhere, but a couple guys that flashed today I wanted to specifically ask about. Ironically, both of them used to be at Alabama, but Tony Mitchell and Jamil Burrows. I mean, what have you seen from them specifically today, but really throughout the spring, and how can they help you?
Yeah, Tone really over the last 5 practices has just started to hit his stride. You know, a guy that had surgery at the end of the season, leaving the East, and he gets here, he's rehabbing early on as we're getting into winter workouts, and he's really just starting to get his legs underneath him. And he's put together 4 or 5 practices that have been what we expected, you know, when we got him, which was really good to see. We'll go back and watch the tape and watch today. Jamil he's a big, powerful human. I mean, he's a guy that can hold the point. That is a real interior defensive lineman inside this league, and so what we've got to make sure we're doing is not having him go play 60 snaps a game, you know, and be able to roll guys the way we need to when Jamil is fresh and playing hot, and the guy's got a chance to be a really, really good player.
Last 2 in the back.
Hey, Coach, over here. How are you today?
Good.
Good. My question is your thoughts on Kamario Taylor, the true freshman from Knoxville. What are your thoughts on his performance this spring as well as today?
Yeah, you know, talked a little bit about it earlier, but Camario's gotten better every single day. I think the thing that I'm most proud about is he's a guy that has been incredibly bought in to getting better and spending time in the building, and that's been a huge piece of it. I talked about upgrading that room. We've upgraded the room in a great way, and they're doing the things they need to do when they're not on the practice field or when there's not a mandatory meeting going on to give them a chance to go be great players, and Camario's done that. So proud of where he's at, excited about where he's going. Again, the quarterback depth inside that room is what we want.
Thank you. Coach, what is y'all's biggest area of focus heading into the summer?
Yeah, again, from a personnel standpoint, have talked a little bit about it. But for us as a football team, the biggest charge is us doing a great job of finding ways to get better when we don't have the ball, you know, and we can't go practice 11 on 11. So whether that's in the playbook, whether that's in the weight room, whatever it is, just continuing to be well-rounded as players so that we can create this amount of trust to go, you know, execute the way we need to.
with the spring game over and now the portal window is open, what are the conversations you've had with the guys and what are you looking to pick up now with the spring window after going through camp here?
Yeah, I won't talk about specifics from a conversation standpoint, but again, O-line will be a big piece of it. Having the ability to go add a tight end, having the ability to look at a DB, whether it is corner or safety, best available probably at that position, and then be able to move from there. But that's our focus as we move through this window.